Folks, welcome to another edition in Real Estate Experts. As always, I'm your host, Glenn Twiddle, bringing you leading experts from around the country and around the world to help you, the Australian homeowner and home seller, maximise top dollar for your property. But not only that, anything to do with real estate, whether it's building wealth through property, negotiating top dollar for your home, whatever it is, traversing that minefield of helping you with this property industry. And today I'm so excited to be joined by none other than Kati Hempenstall. Kati, thank you so much for hanging out today.
Thanks for having me, Glenn.
So, Kati, before we get into your amazing property experience and how you help so many Australians do what they're doing, I've got to ask you about a former life. I don't know if you're embarrassed about it. Tell us about the touring rock star life that was your prior to the real estate thing.
Well, absolutely. Look, I spent a few years with my husband travelling and touring through Europe.
Wow.
And we'd been in a band in Australia for quite a number of years together, and we decided to take Europe by storm.
Wow.
So it was a lot of fun, and then the time did come when it was time to come back home and grow up and start a family and do all those responsible
the rock star
things.
thing. But tell us, what was the song or the songs that brought the house down? What were the ones that you know you had a favourite?
We did a lot of the party type of music, so anything disco-y, dancey, Gloria Gaynor, that type of thing. It was fantastic. Bit of Pink, a bit of Bon Jovi. We were right into the rock bands, and all those sorts of things were a lot of fun.
So certainly as a performer though, now that you're using those performance skills in other areas, that you're taking those presentation skills that you've got and you're turning houses into events. I've seen the way you do that. You take that air of showmanship that was once your history and you're making it part of your professional career. It's magnificent to see. Tell us about, how does that work? How do those two worlds marry up where you can really make these things events and not just a real estate agent showing a house?
Actually, it's funny you mention that, Glenn, because we really do try and make every Belle open home stand out from all of the others. So we like to make it a little bit of a show.
Yeah.
So we do have beautiful music playing for the background. We have show bags for the people that come through. We have all sorts of goodies and gift baskets, and we do try and create little mini events for each property to make them really stand out from all of the others that the buyers are going through that day.
I love it. So, on that note, tell us a little bit about, our viewers have plenty of choices when it comes to if they were selling a house, and that's really what your expertise is. The way you get these results for your clients is without precedent. You're doing so well. So tell me, if the average, I know the people in your area, they've got an easy choice, right? They can just call you in. What about if one of my viewers was looking for an agent like yourself who has your characteristics up in Cairns or in Sydney or in Melbourne, where the choice may not be so easy? How can they identify, the Bell team, the Kati Hempenstall team of another area? What are some of the critical indicators? Is it kind of like what you just mentioned? Maybe there's an air of show about the opens? Tell us about what are some of the factors we can look for.
Yeah, absolutely, Glenn. Look, there are a number of things that potential sellers should really look for when they're choosing an agent. And because on the surface, I understand that a lot of what we do looks the same. A lot of agents look the same, they sound the same, they say the same things.
I'd say that's not true of you though.
Oh, come on. But, really they all say that they get a premium price, that in the quickest time, and they're the best negotiator. But realistically, we can't all be right. They can't
all be the best.
There's only room for one of them. Exactly. We can't all get the best prices. We can't all be the best negotiators. So there are certainly things that the viewers should look for when choosing an agent. And recently there was a survey conducted in southeast Queensland of 150 local agents
saw that.
where
saw the
they
result.
were secret shopped. And in fact, one of our agents here was secret shopped.
Really? How'd they fare?
Look, I'm so proud to say that she passed with flying colours.
Nice.
But the results across the board were not so favourable. In fact, they were so bad that I thought, surely this can't be right.
Wow.
So we actually conducted our own research, and at the end of last year, I had 3 of my previous sellers who I'd just sold a house for them. They went and secret shopped some of the other big agents in our area. And the results that came back were actually just as
Just
bad
as bad
as
as
the other
wow.
ones that came through. You know, things like the amount of open homes that they went through, where they walked into the open house, they walked around and walked out. No one took their name, no one took their number. So those clients don't even know who's been through their home.
Wow, so those sellers are sitting there with potential strangers in their home. So their agent couldn't even follow them up to see if they wanted to buy it if they tried.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So I really felt sorry for those clients because there was nobody to follow up and see, were they interested in the property? Would they like to have a second inspection? Did they have any feedback for those clients? Another thing that came up, Glenn, was the amount of opens where they attended and there wasn't actually a listing agent or an agent who's looking after that client present. So basically there was
there?
like an admin, like a receptionist, basically unlocking the house for them.
Wow.
And they couldn't even answer basic questions about that property.
Wow.
So that's a big concern, you know, who's actually selling their biggest asset?
There's certainly no show going on there.
No, absolutely not. So look, these are simple things that the viewers can certainly undertake themselves, just simply by attending open homes of the agents that they are thinking of selecting.
And then you mentioned before that some of them aren't even getting contact details, so they can't even make one piece of follow-up. What's interesting, can I ask you this? How much is too much? Because of course, most people who visit an open home haven't volunteered for a new family member or a new store. You know, we don't want to follow up to the point of stalking. So is too much? Is there such a thing as too much, or is what you've described seems pretty low impact, but enough? Is that right?
Absolutely. Look, what the feedback that we get from our buyers. In fact, I've just received a Rate My Agent a testimonial today from a couple that purchased a property from me in the last couple of weeks, and what they said was they were shocked at how little follow-up they had from the agents that they had dealt with in the past. So we make sure that we keep it at a respectable level. We're not there to stalk or hound people, but we're here to do a job for our seller. So we need to ensure that everybody that comes through that property, we need to either make a second inspection appointment for them and potentially get an offer from them, or if they're not interested in that property, we still need that information. We need to get some feedback. Why is it not suitable for them? So we keep it to a respectable level. We're not there to stalk anybody. We're not moving in with them and being the third member of their family, but we're certainly there to make sure that we leave no stone unturned in finding the right buyer for each property.
I love it, and I love our viewers can now see not all agents are created equal. Wow. So we definitely need to, I love how you say leaving no stone unturned, and it seems there are some agents that are definitely leaving stones unturned. And they want to be nice, they want to follow up in a respectful manner, but not too much. I love it. What else? There's got to be something else we'll be on the lookout for if our viewers do go and do their own little mystery shop. What else can they be on the lookout
Absolutely, Glenn. So another thing that is absolutely critical, Glenn, is the marketing collateral. So what I would suggest to the viewers is go along to those open homes, collect the marketing that they're presenting for that property. Is it in line with the quality that you would expect for someone to represent their biggest asset? So get all that marketing. Is it cheap and nasty and flimsy, printed off on an office printer? Because if it is, you know, it's really sad, because that could cost thousands in the
tens
actual,
of thousands,
absolutely, in the sale price of that property.
Wow, I do remember I went through an open house and literally it was the form I'd seen on the internet, the realestate.com page. They must have just clicked print on that and handed that to me as there you go, mate. And I think, wow, aren't you a professional real estate marketer?
Absolutely. And look, it's surprising how many agencies do that. Some of my clients came back with black and white photocopies of that particular page. Now, what that does is it attracts and it appeals to to those bargain buyers. You don't want that when you're selling your biggest asset.
Yeah.
You want that marketing to be in line and representative of someone's biggest asset, because the marketing is crucial. You have one chance at this.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate, our clients are very fortunate at Bell. Our marketing stands above any of the others in the marketplace.
Well, you've got this reputation as one of the best marketers in the country, and I know other agents come to you and ask you about your marketing prowess. Tell us about then, if that's what not to do that you just mentioned, what should we do? What would represent Kati quality marketing?
Absolutely. So professional marketing, professional photography, professionally printed brochures. We have our beautiful Bell magazine. Now, this is critical. When a buyer, they pick up on that. If it's a cheap, flimsy bit of printed off in the office, they pick up on that. And the buyer thinks, hey, we're not dealing with a professional here. We're not dealing with someone that's going to be a really good negotiator. We're not dealing with a really good marketer. And they will use that against that agent, and they will try and steal the property.
Yeah, and in turn, against the agent, in turn, that's against the seller and their bottom line.
Absolutely. So when you think about it, one of the properties I recently sold for my clients, I achieved $48,000 above their dream price.
Wow.
Now that's $48,000, Glenn, tax-free.
Yeah.
So if you were to earn that $48,000, that person would have to realistically earn actually about $150,000.
Yeah.
So that they could live off 50.
Yep. And save 48.
Yeah.
And you did
and
it
pay
in one
tax
fell
on
swoop.
50.
Yeah.
And then have 48 left over as pure profit.
And most Aussies, that's going to take years.
Absolutely. And look, the family home is Australia's last tax haven for most families. So we need to ensure that every step of the way is covered effectively, and marketing is one of those key aspects, because we need to target, our marketing only targets those emotional buyers.
Wow.
So our marketing draws in people, they already fall in love with the home, and then it's our job to negotiate them up to the highest price. And given the fact that often we're putting them in competition with a lot of buyers, because they're all drawn in by our beautiful marketing. So that extra $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 is $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 extra tax-free.
Just on a side note, what difference did that $48,000 extra make? Not only, I mean, it's $48,000 above their dream price. Most people don't even achieve their dream price, let alone an extra 48. Yeah. What difference did that make to those sellers? Like, what they do with the extra money?
Look, that particular case, Glenn, we had the first open home, we had 18 groups of people through.
Wow.
We had 9 offers presented on that first day.
Wow, so that marketing works. Look at what it did.
Absolutely. And they were literally fighting over the house.
Wow.
And when we presented the offers, the multiple offers to those sellers, when I got to the last one, and it was the $48,000 above their dream price, the seller, she actually got up, she came around the table, picked me up in a giant bear hug, and she started crying. She said, Katie, you don't know what this means to our family.
Wow.
So they had just had a 4th child, a little bit of a surprise baby, and they had been looking at purchasing like a minivan, a new car that would seat the whole family, and they had been looking at having to purchase a second-hand car, and she said, we can now buy a brand new car. And she was in tears. She said, you don't know what this means to our family. So they're the moments for me, above anything else, it is truly heartwarming for me to be able to make absolute changes to my clients' lives, and I just love it.
Oh, wow. Understandably, so I'm getting all emotional myself here. Goodness. You vixen, I love it. But I love how a lot of the consumers out there, they ask me a bit, on the show here, because they see agents as they're all the same. And I love it. Stories like that prove we need to find the right agent who can do what you just did and give those sorts of outcomes. So I know that you're not the most expensive out there in the game, nor are you the cheapest. You charge a fair transaction. But tell me, how can our viewers figure out, do you choose an expensive? Do you just go with the cheapest? How do we How do we figure out that minefield?
Look, there are a number of varying fees out there. And what I would say to the viewers is that really try and find the best deal that you can. Look, the majority of agents, unfortunately, they do little more for a client than pop a property onto the internet, cross their fingers and hope for the best. And they really act merely as a tour guide, showing people through a home. So really, if they're just acting as a tour guide, then you know, there's no point paying them for a big professional fee. And you know, that's something that I pride myself on, is achieving that absolute maximum dollar. I make sure that I negotiate every buyer up. We leave not a dollar in their pocket. And every dollar in the seller's pocket is better than in the buyer's. You know, and if they're willing to drop their fee after 1 or 2 questions, well, then that probably shows that they're not a great negotiator.
I had one of my viewers once tell me that they asked one question, they dropped their fee substantially, and what my viewer was saying to me is, wait a minute, I just out-negotiated my professional negotiator with one question.
Absolutely.
I think they just selected themselves, or maybe not so.
Absolutely. You don't want that to happen at all. So if you're hiring a professional, a gun negotiator, then they're worth every single cent.
So my last question is kind of in the same vein. You mentioned in your fantastic book, The Property Path, and I am going to get a copy of it for you for free in a moment. Stay tuned. In your book, The Property Path, you mentioned this concept called buying the listing, and you talk about it that it's even got you express that it's got a name because it happens so often, and you describe it as one of the biggest mistakes, a trap for home sellers that's all over the place. It's really doing a lot of damage out there. Tell us, what is buying the listing and why it's so dangerous for sellers?
Absolutely. Look, Glenn, buying the listing is when an agent lists a property at any price. They do it to win the business, and they list property at whatever price the client wants to hear. So in essence, they're buying that listing for a price at which it's probably never going to achieve.
What's the difference, I guess, between an agent being optimistic versus, I mean, is this naive optimism, or is it a strategy that's done on purpose?
Look, in our area, it almost has become a procedure for a lot of agencies, because it's the only way that they can win a listing, win a client. So unfortunately, they take on a property, they tell the owner whatever it is they want to hear that it's worth. And look, that's very beguiling to some sellers, thinking, oh, I can get, you know, $100,000 more than similar homes have sold for. Now, over the years, I have a system. It's my successful sales strategy. It's a bit of a tongue twister, but it's tried and tested, and it really works. And the whole process, it's not one thing that we do that sets our clients' properties apart. It's the entire process. But it's about positioning the property correctly in the marketplace from the get-go, so that we're attracting a lot of buyers to that property.
As you said before, 18 or whatever it was.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And we have a lot of people falling in love with the same house, generating multiple offers. So we know that if a lot of people love that property, it's naturally going to generate a higher sale price. So unfortunately, when an agent buys the listing, they list it well above where it should actually sit in the marketplace, and then it might not actually be seen by the real buyers for a few months. By the time it gets priced to where it should have been at the start, the buyers think, oh, there's something wrong with it. They smell a rat. And that can cost the seller tens of thousands of dollars. In some cases, they don't end up selling at all, but even worse is sometimes they end up selling for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 less than where it should have sat in the first place. So it's a really risky maneuver. Look, I understand that for a client, it might even sound somewhat reasonable to start high and then work our way down, just to test the market, I guess, to see.
And it sounds like,
you know,
the cost is losing those 2 or 3 weeks that you mentioned where it's prime. I mean, just based on the way you describe it, it really does sound like the only hope that seller has got ever of getting anywhere near that is to do it your way and get that price driven up to that, as opposed to doing it the way that you're suggesting that those other agents are doing it, driving the price down.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Look, it's a really risky maneuver, and I've seen that happen many times over the years, and then we get these mayday calls from clients asking for our help. And look, it's such a shame, because there's a better way of doing things.
And I know you describe it for our viewers all over the country. I know you describe the process and how you do it well. A lot of your systems are in the property path. Now's where I'm going to get cheeky on behalf of our viewers. Can I hit you up for a copy of the book for our viewers?
Absolutely.
Would that be okay? Oh,
Absolutely.
see that? I've got your back, guys. There it is. Just go to that website right there, grab a copy of the property path. Thank you so much for that. That's awesome.
You're welcome.
So in closing, how would you kind of advise our Australian investors and homeowners all around the country, in some cases all around the world? We've got a great growing audience. What would be your final thoughts for the guys in building wealth through property and selling a home? What's your kind of final word just to help out our viewers?
Look, I think do your homework. Go and interview. When we say interview agents, go to their open house, see them in action, see what kind of show they put on. And because they're going to be dealing with your potential buyers. So ask them questions, ask them, why are they worth that extra money? And if they can absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, prove to you that through consistent results that they've achieved, then they probably are worth that extra amount of money. Something else that I'd like to mention is databasing systems. Now, I know for us, our clients are at a huge advantage to have access to the entire Bell network of buyers.
Okay.
So if the viewers don't have a Bell office in their area, question the agents that they're interviewing. What kind of databasing system do they have? Because I know in our area, the other local agencies, they have to rely on realestate.com, the internet sites, for building the traction and building their database. Now, a lot of them will say that they've got the biggest team, 20 agents, the biggest database. But unless they have something like the Bell system, where we have access to our entire network from around the country, all of our buyers are put into one system.
Right.
So our clients are in a big advantage, because our properties are showcased to a much wider network of buyers. So we have access to more interstate, overseas and out of area buyers than any of our local agencies have access to.
So yeah, your reputation as a hired gun negotiator is so well deserved. My honour to hang out. And thanks for a copy of the book. Check out the website there, guys. Get a copy of the property path. So thank you very much,
Thanks,
Kati.
Glenn.
And on that note, I trust you are with me in saying what a great episode of Real Estate Experts. As always, until next time, folks, Glenn Twiddle signing off. Bye for now.
We had Kati Hempenstall taking care of our property for us, and it was really great actually. She took care of our investment property and sold it within a week.
Katie came up with quite a unique approach to selling my home, because it was in a unique position, so there wasn't anything really comparable on the market. So I trusted her to go to market with her unique marketing strategy, and that certainly worked for me in terms of we achieved a record price in the area for a townhouse.
Katie was excellent. She was friendly, supportive, positive, kept me motivated.
When you mix Katie, Bell Property in the one sentence, you have a recipe for amazing.
She was just amazing. We had our property listed for around about 6 months. Really didn't have any bites, and then when we went to Katie at the Bell Group, pretty much we got it all sold, and before even the first open home.
She has been very good in the way that she has conducted herself, marketed our properties, and the outcomes have always been wonderful. She has a really professional approach in the way that she deals with prospective customers, the way she assists us in presenting properties, and the way that the wholesale process goes.